What if the journey through it all is what makes you unstoppable? Welcome to Love, Heal, Hustle, a space for the ones who are rising, rebuilding, and reclaiming their joy. It's raw, it's real, and it's proof that healing doesn't mean slowing down. It means showing up stronger. Tap follow, hit subscribe, and listen on every major platform. Let's grow, glow, and hustle together. Welcome back to Love, Heal, Hustle. Today's episode is special because I have my former therapist with me, Melissa, and she's here to share a little bit of her expertise and some topics that, that affect all of us. So welcome to the show, Melissa.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm happy to have you here. How are you feeling today?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good.
You good?
Yeah.
Good. So I'm going to start with a little bit about yourself. And I want to know what inspired you to be a therapist.
I think it's just how I'm wired, wanting to help people, but I didn't know right away. I knew that I liked psychology in college. I tried nursing, law school. I mean, not law school, but like I was thinking about going to law school. And I just kept going back to the psychology and the human brain and wanting to help. And so I worked in the field a little bit with my bachelor's in psychology, in foster care, substance use, things like that. Then it was really hard at 22 years old. It was rough, really rough. So I didn't think I could do it. So I left. And then
nursing?
No, the bachelor's level social work. So there was casework sort of jobs. So like casework, case management with different populations, substance use, working with teenagers in foster care. And it was just very overwhelming. And I was just very like sensitive and not... it was almost traumatic even. So I didn't think that was for me. So I left, but it found me again.
Yeah.
So I left, I did other things. And
I feel like at that age, you're so young, 22 years old. Like, that's a lot.
And I'm committed, and I'm like really told to commit a kid, a 17-year-old kid, because the teenagers were in foster care. And so they didn't have parents most of the time. They had foster parents. And they looked at you as the person to help them. And I don't know, they looked up to you, and then I felt
pressure for a 22-year-old,
I felt terrible. So I will never forget one experience where I had to take this kid that really bonded with me. I really cared about him, and I had to commit him because he made some statements, and he's looking at me like,
you're his savior.
Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to me? And then he was resistant, and he's a big kid, so they just tried to restrain him, and that was traumatic for him. And then I'm like going home crying. So it was a lot. It's a lot, like you said, for a 22-year-old.
For a 22-year-old emotionally.
Yeah, and if you didn't have a good supervisor, then there was no one to process all of that with. So things like that. Substance use was rough too. So then I realized, then I was like, you know what? I really needed a break. I thought I was going to leave it and do something completely different. And it found me again. Yeah. It's like, no, going to grad school at 28.
It was meant for you. I think that then at that age, you were more prepared,
Yeah.
Because at 22 years old, I can't even imagine having to take on that, Yes. It's a lot of emotional stress too, especially if you don't have like the proper support system guiding you through that, especially since you're new in it. So, yeah. So why do you think therapy and mental health are trending topics in today's society?
I think that social media is helping. I think generations are helping. The younger generations are more open to therapy. Also because it's out there, we talk about it. I think culturally, 2020, when they murdered George Floyd, we opened the floodgates to the importance of cultural identity and racial identity and all the things that happen and how they affect people of color.
Yeah.
And that was I was like, I've been saying this all along.
Yeah.
But we were not supported. We were not, it was just not, you didn't think that you can have like a Latina therapist or a Black therapist or a brown therapist. You thought that they were all white women, and they were.
Yeah, and
for a long time,
and it's also like that cliche also, even just as Latinas, like, you don't go to therapy. Like, it's a bad thing.
Yeah, the stigma.
Yes, the stigma of like, therapy is bad. Yes. You're crazy if you go to therapy, where it's like, I don't remember if it was you or who was it that told me this, but they said like, just like your health, that you need your yearly checkup, you also need your yearly checkup, emotionally and mentally.
That's what
up
Kerry
there.
Washington says too.
Yeah.
I saw it on the reel. It's that's the problem. I think it was never put at the level of your health, physical health. Even though we used to operate from a medical model, so it really didn't even make sense why mental health wasn't valued, why you don't pay them the mental health professionals properly. So there was this devaluing for a long time. And I think it's getting better. The younger generations are more open to therapy. I think our generations were thought that it was for if you were crazy.
Yeah, like it was a bad thing.
Not
like,
the right word, but
you couldn't know, but you couldn't even really...
Severe mental illness or severe trauma is the only time you saw people go to therapy. So I think that there is a lot of you're ingrained with that. Just observation, because my mother never said anything negative about therapy. But you didn't know anyone I didn't know anyone that went until much later. As a matter of fact, even when we all became therapists in grad school after, therapists didn't even disclose that they were going to therapy. And now everybody's, oh yeah, my therapist says this.
Yeah, now everyone is so vocal about it. And even me myself, like I'm very vocal about it. And it's so funny because then like some of my like Spanish family members like, no todo se cuenta, not everything you say, like just don't tell anybody that. And I'm just like, no, why? I feel like everyone, like, because if anything, I feel like it opened the door for a lot of people to be like, you know what? Now that you mentioned that, I've been considering that myself. I feel like I need it, but it opens the door to say like, it's okay. Like I've gone through therapy too, like, and it's helped me, and it opens the door for them to understand that like, it's okay. Like, she went through therapy, I should too, you know what I mean? So it kind of opens the door and gives them that like, that comfort of like, it's okay, like to seek help if you need it, know?
So. And also that therapy is not, it could be for it's for healing, but it's also to be the best version of yourself. Right. You need to look within.
Yeah.
You can't just point fingers all the time at like this person, this person, this person. You have to heal the traumas or the things you've been through. But at some point, even when you break up with a person, I've had people who have broken up with their significant others and they're like, oh, I have a pattern. I want to heal this. What's this say about me, right? And it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's that you want better for yourself. Right. You want to choose the spouse or the man or the person that you deserve, but yet you're not. So what's going on there? So
where's that blockage?
There's that space once a week or whenever to really dig deep. And then all these other things come out that you think you're going in for one thing. And then if you're really open, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
With all the things that can come out.
Yeah.
And be helpful. And healing isn't just, if you do these steps, this'll happen, you'll heal. Healing happens gradually. So all of a sudden you're like...
It's not linear, right?
It's not linear, but it's also like, I'm not putting up with that anymore. When did that happen? Oh, you've been coming here every week, or you've been coming here every other week, and you've been very proactive with what you want to work on and healing and your healing process, and you've been open to new things. So all of a sudden, ta-da, like all of a sudden your self-esteem is rising slowly but surely. And now when your self-esteem or your self-worth rises, which is the foundation of a lot of things, once you start healing the things that have affected that, then you start choosing differently. You start to want to be around different people, and everything reflects it. Right?
I know. And it's crazy. It becomes like it's almost like you shed the old version of yourself, and like someone is reborn, and you have to rebuild relationships. You have to like, just view even the current relationships that you had, you view them differently. You view them with a different lens. Even the new relationships that you form, you realize the difference in them. So yeah. What do you think has changed in the way people approach mental health?
Well, I think, as I said earlier, I think we are realizing that so much you can gain so much from it, and it doesn't need to be a crisis. Actually, I have worked with survivors of sexual violence for 8 years, strictly with that population. And when you are assaulted, sometimes you're not even ready for therapy. Sometimes it's the people that come back because it happened years ago, and now they're seeing how it affects them. And so we need to be open to that too. So I think that, it's like being open to what is it? How do I want to show up in this life?
So awareness, number one, right?
Awareness, yeah, willingness. And, I think that people have blockages, like they're afraid to revisit things that are painful because that's a logical
Do we subconsciously do that?
Yes,
we
do
that.
Because sometimes people will come to therapy and then they'll say something and then we're getting to that close, that really deep stuff. And it's like, and they don't know how to really access the subconscious to say, well, I'm just scared to go there. So I think I'm going to take a break, or I'm not coming. And then they don't come back, or they don't want to go that
They kind of become a little avoidant.
And I avoid it. And I think you want to honor where they're at. So hopefully they will do it in a different way or another time.
Or when they're ready.
When they're ready. But that happens as well. And so there's a lot of factors, If they're hearing in their family or in their culture that nobody goes to therapy, that might, affect you.
Because you don't have anyone around you giving you that support. Like I always say, it's always that one person that can like give you that push. And when you don't have that, then it's like,
And I think what I think is beautiful is the younger generations are definitely more open to it. So I've had them call me in their 20s.
They have let me tell you, this younger generation has more emotional intelligence than 40 and 50 years old, 50-year-olds. And I was just like,
unless you're,
God.
And I'm in that range. If you're a 40 and 50-year-old that hasn't done their work, they're definitely,
especially as Latinas.
Yeah, just culture. I mean, I think we have a lot of catching. We've just been catching up, slowly but surely. And rightfully so, therapy wasn't really supportive of people of color. We got to be honest. I'm going to tell you, I wasn't trained to think about my culture. I did that on my own. I had no support. I was trained to be a blank slate. Ask anyone who graduated in 2006 in that range, early 2000s or whatever. Oh, you're a blank slate. Now, that doesn't fly with our culture, if you hadn't noticed. I feel like we're warm. We need connection.
Right, of course.
I think that in general, you need connection in order to really do the work with your therapist. Even though your therapist could be the most trained person, but there's a level of connection that needs to happen.
Even with your health. Even with your health, it's the same thing, I feel like, So I'm not surprised that, that's it happens, with you in college.
Well, when I started working in the field, after I got the master's, in order to work as a mental health professional, I found that I was just around a lot of white women, and I was trained by white women, and it just felt, this doesn't work for my people. And little things like, for instance, oh, you can't touch, you can't, and that's true. Like, I'm not gonna hug you. I'm gonna
so basically you
respect the touching, the
emotional, like that
the disclosing of anything. Like, I'm a mom of 2 teenage boys. I don't see why that's so harmful to share. Back then, that you couldn't say anything, and I just feel like who connection is so important.
Yeah, so basically, it's like you're sitting with like a robot.
Yes,
right.
Yes, and I felt this is already a reserved culture. Meaning Caucasian culture is a little slightly reserved, if we're being honest, and not all, but some.
Yes.
And and so my Latino clients would come in and they would be like, did you watch this, or how many kids do you have?
Like you had to hold yourself back.
Well, not really. Because
she stepped over the line just a little bit.
Because I have a little bit of rebellious side to me. But
you used it, but it was for good.
Well, for good. So, I said, I have to do this on my own. I have to figure this out on my own. And then it was a wonderful experience. I went to a mental health agency, an outpatient agency, and they put me, that's another host of issues. But what was beautiful was they put me with only the Latina therapists. So we were all first generation, except for maybe 2. And we felt like, oh, my people.
Yeah, you felt
we would like celebrate birthdays. We would go to lunch together. But then reality hit. We were really being taken advantage of. We were seeing way more clients. We were not compensated financially.
Of course.
And this is the problem, the whole career. Yeah. I think the younger generation, because of us speaking out, I feel not taken advantage of as much, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I really
but I feel like that your generation or our generation, set the foundation, for now the younger generation to be like, okay, now they're just like they're very vocal. Like they have like such strong boundaries, and like I like to talk a lot to to my God, they're
sorry, young people.
But I mean, you guys are on the right path.
But we need it.
You're on the right path, but
we need it.
But they are extremists, and I say it because I speak a lot to my younger cousins. I have a lot of younger cousins, but I love it because they have like that emotional intelligence that I look at them and I'm like, oh my God, at your age, I wasn't even thinking it this way, I didn't have these strong boundaries, and so I love that they're trying to make that, And
I think what's important to also add is when we talk about culture and generational trauma and whatnot, our communities are catching up. If some of us are first generation, maybe second generation at most. I'm 1 and 2 on each side. And, not all of our parents were educated. So they're coming here to give us a better life. Yeah. And so there's this survival kind of energy that's really putting there. My mom was a professional. She was a nurse. However, she had a lot of childhood trauma that wasn't addressed because there wasn't anything. And she was open. It was just, this is what I have to do. So it's like you're pushing through, you're in survival. And now I'm a sensitive kid, so I'm feeling all your trauma. I'm feeling all your sadness. And she was a great mom. Yeah. So it was like, it's sad that generation had to just do it all. And then, be in these gender roles and all these things and be quiet.
And be quiet about it, because another thing I feel like, with my mother's generation, I don't know how old your mother is, but, my mother's generation, it's like you went through stuff and like you couldn't even talk about it. Yeah. It's just like, even if you were like sexually assaulted, like as Dominicans growing up, poor, it's like you had to be quiet because also it was like embarrassing to them to even say that.
The shame.
Because the shame, it's like another man
which is already common in the dynamic of being a survivor of sexual assault. So add the cultural piece to it.
And I'm just like, oh my God. Like I sat down with my grandmother and I spoke to her about a few things, and I'm just like, this is crazy. How does nobody know about these things? And it's like, you want to know how I found out? Because I asked. But it's like my own close family members, my own mother, like didn't even know about certain things. And it's like, because, it's things that they just happens. They think that it's normal and it's okay, and they just stay quiet about it.
Yeah. And well, what am I supposed to do about it now?
Yeah. And everyone around them behaves the same way, so they're just like, it's okay. Like it's normal, and it's very sad.
Right. And so it's like looking at them with compassion and just, wow, you went through all of that and you're still standing. And now it's our responsibility to do our own work so that we can really say, well, the cycle's ending because you couldn't end it. You couldn't do it. I mean, no one supported you. You couldn't do it. But we have a choice. And I think the Gen X, older millennials are kind of in that, what the hell do we do? What do we do?
We
did it. Or we pushed through. And that's what I want to talk. I wanted to mention the term hyper-independence, which is actually a trauma response, which is really being overly independent because you really deep down don't think you can count on anybody. You got to do it yourself. And I think there's all these funny reels on Gen X, on the social media. And I mean, it's not funny, I mean, for some more than others, but it's not okay that you weren't supported. And then with the cultural piece, I wanted to add that we have such a family. One of our strongest values as Latina people is family.
Yes, we're big on family.
So huge. A culturally humble therapist needs to understand that. No matter what they are, culturally and race-wise. So we really need to...
was that something that was not, like, important in when you were taught in college? Like,
they called it cultural competence.
Really?
be open to all, but there was no teaching about... And listen, it's hard to sit here and teach every single culture out there. I mean, but there are principles...
Latina and
there are principles, there are things that we really need to value into what a client comes into the door with. So for instance, a South Asian client, families, even on another level, what their parents tell them to do is so important. And then all of a sudden they're like, no, my parents are not going to be okay with that. But we're here in America in a very independent sort of view of how we should be, like individual. We're an individualized society. Our cultures are not. We're collective. We're community. We're about community. That's like we heal in community. It isn't. We know what to do, but we don't know what to do. And the merging of the cultural practices with just knowing what your ancestors did to heal. Movement, dance. I mean, my mom used to say, I don't know. I don't care how much in pain I am. If I hear Mark Anthony, I'm dancing. And she's like, she'd be a different person. And I get it. I do it too.
Yeah.
So I think that, and then sometimes we call that somatic movement.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's just dance. We know we were doing that already.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a lot of value in really being mindful of where people come from, what the value system is, how hard it is. Like I worked with survivors of sexual violence and most of them were white until 2020.
Wow.
And there was a shift, thank goodness. And there was a shift and I was able to take the culture into account.
Does that have a little bit to do with what I was mentioning that maybe, as Latinas, we were like more suppressed. We're not open and vocal about those things.
Yeah, and I think mental health professionals were not really getting through to them. They weren't really making the effort to understand us. They weren't.
Yeah.
And then you have white fragility. So then you'd have a white therapist that doesn't want to bring up race or culture. So now you have to hide that part of your identity. Or you have to explain.
But that's kind of showing up, half.
Yeah, you're not your whole self.
Right.
Or you're explaining, you're spending 15 minutes of your time and your money explaining to someone all of the things that you have to look at or deal with or face in a cultural context. And again, we can't know everything about every culture. That's not possible. But if I feel that you are not willing to ask me, if I feel that you're not willing to hear me with those pieces of me, parts of me,
which are big parts
of me.
Yeah.
Girl, I'm a New Yorican. You better see me as a Puerto Rican. I was in Bad Bunny on Saturday night with my flags. So like
everybody was
I'm not. So I mean that's funny, but it's also, well, do you even understand what that's about? Our flag was banned. We couldn't even sport our flag for years, right? So we compensate. They're trying to take away our culture. They're trying to take away our island constantly, whether it was Spain, the US, or now rich people. So we're always fighting. So you see this huge energy. We're like the United States, they own us. So, I mean, there's a lot to it. It's not just like we're walking around with the Puerto Rican flag, all of that. It's part of it. There's more.
That makes sense now that I think about it. Yeah,
the pride is about holding on
to your culture.
You're not taking this from me.
Yes.
If we become a state, if we become independent, or whatever, you're not taking my culture. You're kicking people out over there, The law's backing it up. And it's like, rich people are just taking over and gentrification, but also beyond that, they have the backing to just kick people out of their homes, so some rich person can, benefit from tax. But anyway, tax benefits. But what I mean, but what I'm trying to say is that, so you see how there's more to it than just,
of course,
sporting a flag.
Yeah, of course, that makes sense. I see that. Now, I want to talk a little bit about men's mental health because, I feel like women, we're emotional beings. So I feel like with us, it's a little bit easier for us to talk about, any of our traumas and our issues. But I feel like with men, they suppress their emotions a little bit more. And I feel like because of that, they have a lot of buildup struggle and pain and stress. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about that.
No, I agree. I think that men have been socialized, and this is white men too, but especially men of color.
Oh, men of color.
Just in general, but to be the providers, to be the to hold their feelings in, to
Los
not,
hombres no lloran.
to not,
You know?
yeah, not to, not to act like a
Yeah.
pussy, not to act like
not
a
to show
bee.
emotion. Yeah.
Stop. I working in sexual trauma. We had a group for men, and these men were coming there for years because there were no safe spaces for them. And there were stories where they would go to the police and they're like, a woman can't assault you, a woman can't hit you.
I mean, if
a
you
woman
think
can't
about
do
it
these
too,
things.
though, just like me just randomly thinking, men mostly are the ones who commit suicide because it's rare that you hear a woman doing it. But I feel like men are the ones that are mostly...
Yeah, a lot of suppression.
Yeah.
And then the way we socialize them, and I say we as in a society, culturally, just in general, how we are telling them what manhood is, and that can tread into toxic masculinity. But even when it doesn't, even when you're doing the right things, they're going out into the world. I'm a boy mom. I'm teaching all the right things, right? Be vulnerable,
because you can
share
still
your
be
feelings.
You can still be in your masculine energy and still do those things. And I feel like a lot of men don't understand that.
But it's not even their fault.
No, of course,
they go out there and then they're boys or they're I have baseball kids.
They're boys for sure.
They're boys.
They're boys are like, you're being a
stop
pussy.
being a little stop being a little bitch.
Yeah. Exactly. It's okay. No filter here. But yeah, it's true, and then that
because this is literally what people say.
Yeah, it is.
And
true.
I saw it even with some of my son's baseball coaches, some of the baseball dads, and then there were others who were very sensitive, and the kids would cry and they would be like, okay, it's it's a bad loss, but so it's okay. Actually, one time I had there was a situation where they had a really tough loss. It wasn't fair, but the umpire makes his call and that's it. You have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And it was a tournament. It was a major tournament that weekend. And the kids start crying. They were 10. This is my younger son. They were 10 years old and one of the boys is crying and his little sister was crying. The mother consoles the sister and she tells the kid, stop crying right now. Stop it. Did you see how early this starts?
God. Yeah.
But yet you're consoling his sister who didn't even play?
Yeah.
I see it all the time. You see it with boy and girl combos.
My heart.
Yes.
Jesus.
So this is how early it starts.
Yeah, and for him it's even harder because he's seeing the mother give his sister that emotional support, and then he's not, as a kid, you don't understand just because you're a boy, but to them it's but they have all these feelings that they don't understand. And even my son, I explained to him all his, as a kid, you don't even understand what you're feeling. Nonetheless, for you as a parent to tell them you're not allowed to feel, you're not allowed to cry. It's that's a lot of pressure for a kid that doesn't even understand feelings, and it's, yeah, that's...
Well, this is just an example of what you're saying, and what I'm saying is that how early this starts.
Yeah.
This
when
is
they carry that on.
So early.
Oh, and then I can't imagine once they reach those teenage years, it's even, their emotions are their hormones all over the place.
Or they shut down.
Oh my God.
That
it's
too.
just, which makes sense now. Why, a lot of men...
It's like the joke with the teenage boys. I have teenage boys, and my 18-year-old isn't away at college, but when he comes, he's so lovey-dovey, and because he appreciates. But it's sometimes he would be shut down. He didn't want to talk. And then the little one just puts all his energy into baseball. I'm like, how you doing? They lost their dad last year, so I'm always checking in, and they're like, Mom, I'm okay. I'm okay. So I'm just very in tune with them and see if there's any behavioral changes or anything. But so far, I see how they're handling it, what they're putting their energy into. What I know my younger son, it's he plays baseball. That's what he does. He works out. He does all that. And I'm always going to be here, to give them the proper help if they want it, when they're ready. But I think that, I think the girls are supported a little more. I mean, I'm doing my job as a mother, of course, as a therapist who knows this is important, but I also want to be respectful of their journey. And I think that you can raise your boys, in a way that's wonderful in terms of giving them an environment to be vulnerable. Thankfully, their dad grew up in a very machista home with a lot of toxic masculinity, and he saw how his dad treated his mom, and he said, "I'm never going to treat a woman like that," and he never did. He treated me like a queen.
I love it.
So the boys saw that. The boys, and then he would tell them, especially when he got sick, you have to be vulnerable. You have to. So I think society has to change too.
Yes.
Well, I don't think. I know.
Yes.
So society has to say. And women are at fault at this, that being strong isn't pushing through. We need to stop perpetrating that. Perpetuating that, I meant to say. We have to stop saying that hyper-independence is the way. It's not. It's not. Because then you get into a relationship and how are you guys, the healthy version of that is interdependence. So you're in a marriage or a relationship that's a partnership. You depend on each other. You lean on each other, but you're not codependent where it's like...
Even when you're hyper-independent, you do that?
No, they have a hard time doing that. That's the problem. And that's healing work that has to be done. So women have to do their work too. You'd be surprised. A lot of women don't do their work either.
I know.
So it's like they're coming into the relationship with that. The man is shutting down or the man is acting out. It depends.
Yes.
And I think that's where the two little inner children, because I do a lot of inner child work, the little boy and the little girl are screaming for attention and love, and they're just bringing their wounds into the relationship, and it's like, you guys got to do your work, individually.
I read something that said a lot of adults are walking around with 8-year-old minds.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes. I mean, I think so.
What does that mean exactly? Because I have an idea of what it means, but just in your words, since you have...
Right. So when I'm doing the work with someone and they want to really address their inner child, they and they're talking about something that triggered them or bothered them, I'm like, how old are you right now? Don't think. Like, let's go into the heart, right? Let's go into the heart center. Let's go into the subconscious. Let's just be. And this is why holistic psychotherapy is how I practice my work, which is the soul, the body. Where is this feeling in your body?
Mind, body, and soul.
Mind, body, and soul.
Which I love that about you.
Yes, thank you.
By the way, I love that.
And so it's like, don't think. How old are you? 8. They right away. They go there. I'm 7. What happened that year? And then either we'll get into it but whatever they got triggered at as an adult, it was sparking something that happened to them when they were 7, or a core belief that they carried over time due to certain experiences in the younger years. And that's, so when you say when I say that the boy and the girl are fighting, but it's like, really, they're screaming for love. They're screaming for to be heard, to be understood, to have a voice. You're not listening to me. You didn't have a voice when you were a kid. You couldn't speak up. You couldn't, so childhood needs, right? And back to culture, another value we have is respect, right? So sometimes you couldn't talk back. And it's not that you're talking back to be disrespectful. You are talking to be heard. So you might grow up with, okay, you had great parents, but you're afraid to do the work because you're like, no, I had great parents. Well, nobody's arguing with you that you had great parents. You could have great parents. I had great parents. Yeah. And you could say that my younger self
100%
was not seen or heard or whatever it is. And your inner child needs some attention sometimes. So when you're getting triggered at work or you're getting triggered by a boyfriend or an ex,
that's
you have
your
to
inner child needs that were not met.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's for you to do the work around, what am I carrying?
Sense.
Like, what am I carrying? What core belief am I carrying? I work with a lot of women of color who are very successful in corporate America, or just professions in general. And it's like they attached doing, which is a little bit because of whatever they went through, some of them attached being accomplished, which is obviously a good thing that they did, to escape the things they went through. They attach accomplishments to it. But now they're in their 30s and 40s and they're like, thinking about their life purpose. They're thinking they don't want to be in this job anymore. They're thinking, I'm not fulfilled.
Because for such a long time, they were just constantly chasing this success. And it was like kind of like a coping mechanism, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah. Or they attach their worth. This also happens. You attach your worth to accomplishments, to degrees. Well, I have a master's. I have this. I have that. Okay, well, you're done. You're seasoned, whatever, in your 20 years and you're in the field. Now, all of a sudden, they're like, I don't care about this shit anymore.
But so do you think that stems from them not being seen by their parents or feeling valued by them? Where does that stem from?
Oh, it could stem from anything. I mean, it could be anything. It could be the little child in them. It could be actual trauma, the things they went through. It could be somewhere along the line. It could be that you got the message and you internalize the fact that you don't feel good enough, that you don't feel good enough as yourself. Remember, we're in survival. Our cultures are breaking cycles, but sometimes it's like you're not productive. You're not doing anything if you're not productive, right? Come on, let's go, you know? And it's like, well, I want to do self-care. Get self-care. Like push through because in their generation, they were in true survival mode. So now we're here like, oh, but I'm tired. Oh, no, this is tired. You know, siempre hay algo que hacer. There's always something to do. Yeah. And that's hyper-independence, that's a trauma response, that's a myriad of things. And so now...
That reminds me of my mother when she's like, ¿Qué depresión? You know, when I was younger, there was no such thing as depression. We just had to get up and go, do what we got to do. And I'm like, Ma, that's the problem though.
But you know what happens with that generation, our mom's generation?
Yeah.
When they get older, and they have to slow down physically, they have no choice.
Everything's going to come down.
Oh, it's tough. I've seen it.
I feel that's possible.
Because there's no choice. You need to sit down, lady.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to happen with a lot of my family members.
We want to honor the young spirit of our culture and the fun spirit because they're dancing, they're doing their thing. My mother used to go to a senior center and they'd had a DJ every Friday. Like that's how beautiful our cultures are, right?
But they have salsa nights in some of those places.
She just had a DJ and she was just dancing with a bunch of other ladies her age, you know? But what happens is over time, you know, you get older and older and older and you get sick and you have an ailment that you can't walk around or you need a home attendant all of a sudden. And that's tough.
Yeah, because then you have no choice but to sit with yourself, you know?
And that can feel like torture for them.
I can't even imagine, you know?
So I do see a lot of first-gen women from different cultures, but especially Latinas who were like their moms are putting that, I don't want to say burden, but that expectation of listening to them and ruminating and just depressed but they don't want to call it that. So and then some of them may not be open to the help. But at this point, why am I going to do any of that?
Yeah. And what do you think about that? Because like, you know, my parents sometimes will say that too. Like, oh, at this age, who's going to change me? Ya yo soy así. And I'm just like, you know, and sometimes I'm like, you know, maybe, I mean, at this age...
I mean,
but me, I'm such an optimistic person that I'm just like, it's never too late for anything.
I don't feel it's ever too late. I mean, I think 70s is still youngish, 60s. I mean, I don't know about 90, but I'm just saying like, it's never too late. Or at the very least,
especially if you're aware, alive, and still moving and still moving around, still interacting with people. I feel like it's still...
You know, to dig into deep-rooted things, maybe not. But like let's teach you, you know, are you open to some coping skills or something to help you through or to talk? Right? Just to talk and vent and see, you know, it just might look a little different, but I never think it's too late, especially if you're not happy.
Yeah.
If you're not happy.
Yeah, why not? If you're still alive and breathing and active and moving around, why not make the last 20, 30 years, you know, better, less sparing, you know? Yeah. So another thing that I know that you're big on and I am personally big on, I'm very big on mental health, but also combining that with spirituality. So I want to dive a little bit into that. Me, myself, it's helped me combining both things. And yeah, especially in our culture, I feel like that also... I feel like that's like the perfect ingredients to healing in our culture, at least, is combining, you know, mental health, but also spirituality.
And we have, I want to clarify, there's mental health with spirituality, with religious spirituality, and then there's spirituality, someone who doesn't really participate in any organized religion. And that's a separate thing. But they're both connections to your higher self, to God. And, you know, you want to be respectful of that. The reason that I do agree that it works is because, you know, you're not, first of all, some people use spirituality and they bypass the mental health piece. It's like, oh, I have God. Of course you have God. And I do too. But God made therapists, and and there's a lot of trauma going on.
Yeah,
in
there's
there,
certain things that it's like,
there's certain things that
God
are
can't fix everything, and
no. And I think faith in God and all that is wonderful. I think it's helped me so much in different ways. I grew up Catholic, but I'm more non-religious, spiritual. And I think that some of the practices that I do, what I would call more holistic, are also really tapping into your subconscious. So I'm a trained hypnotherapist, so I don't necessarily do hypnotherapy anymore, but I will do the components of hypnotherapy, which is basically a deep meditation with inner child work and soul retrievals. So inner child is when you're ready to meet your inner child. I will walk you through a very deep meditation or hypnosis around meeting them when you're ready. And then we'll do talk therapy. Then we'll go back, and then we'll get into you talking to her or addressing her or addressing her wounded part, because our inner child is not always wounded. Eventually we want to look at them as resilient, as they helped us, those survival tactics helped us. But now we have to say goodbye to them. It's time to thrive. It's not time to survive. And so really
so kind of
meeting
letting
them.
go and saying goodbye to that survival mode, and
thanking it for what it did. There's
seeing it
there
as
are things right. But if you're 30 something or 40 something and you're still triggered in a way where that little child is triggered, it's time to do the work around maybe saying goodbye to that survival part of you that wants to thrive, that wants to live, that wants to find joy in life. And I think, and also to kind of tap into it. So what happens is, and then we do this back and forth. So it's like, I was triggered at work today. Okay, what happened? And we would dig deep to see what's going on. And they were triggered by an email back to when they were 12, and this happened, or these things happened. And it was like a feeling, oh, she makes me feel small. My boss treats me like I'm, I feel, well, how do you feel around that? Like, well, I feel not good enough. I feel small. I feel berated. I feel disrespected. Well, where does that go? 10, when, da, da, da. And it doesn't always have to be that specific, but it could be us talking and processing how that shows up in her adult life, right? Because we go to therapy for a reason.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, yeah, I have a little anxiety. I think it has to do with my childhood stuff, but I don't really know. And I'm just not happy. And so then as we do more digging, it'll come up in that way.
Once I realized that, I'm in the corporate world. Mm-hmm. And I started viewing people as their inner child self or their behaviors. Mm-hmm. And like, it just all made sense to me. And it just, it helped those relationships at work. It helped me be more patient with people too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I feel like that understanding that is very important for you to go through life and interact and socialize and connect with people, especially in the workplace where you're working with these people. You're with them more than your own family members. So
yeah. And also as you start to heal, you also put boundaries, because you could have all the compassion in the world. Doesn't mean you're gonna disrespect me either. So it's like, okay, let's do the work around, where does that take you? Is that a theme in your life? Is that a core belief you develop? Is that a pattern in the people in your life that you disrespect you? I don't want to say the word aloud, but that you are in situations where people talk to you any type of way, and now you're like, wait a minute,
because you were raised that way and surrounded by that, and then
you don't feel good about yourself.
Right.
You have these core beliefs that say, I'm not good enough, so I have to put up with this, or I have to people please in order to feel safe, right? Mm. People pleasing has a lot of shadow work. There's a lot of shadow work to people pleasing.
Oh my God, yes.
There's a lot to be done about that. That's a whole podcast episode. So perfectionism, people pleasing, all of that is
people
really
pleasing and feeling like you need to heal everybody.
Right, the rescuer, being a rescuer when you're really not responsible. It's very freeing when you learn. My job is not to rescue. It's not to rescue my man. It's not to rescue even my children. We can't rescue our children, and I know that's a hard one.
No, and I know what you're getting at when you say that. Just I feel like it's better for you to give them the tools, give them that emotional support, than kind of giving them everything in their hands, because that's not how they're gonna go through life. Mm-hmm. Just having all the solution in their hands. At some point, you also have to let them. Like I was watching this, I forgot his name. This reel on Instagram, and he was talking about whenever your child comes to you with a problem, ask them to solve it first. don't immediately solve it for them, you know, and you'll see how their mind just expands and they'll find the solution and they'll find the best solution for themselves even. Even you as a parent probably couldn't have come up with that solution.
And that's where the soul work is important, because I agree with that, because they are not mini-me's. I know that's a cute little term.
Because that's what we always try to do that as parents.
Okay.
You just want to like...
Okay, my son...
Why do we do that as parents? Like, we just want to like... whatever we didn't accomplish or whatever we felt like we needed or we needed to be better at, like, we want our kids to be better at it. Right. And it's like, no, they're their own person. They're not a better version of you that you want to tailor to. You know?
Yeah, I know secretly we want them to do better than us.
Of course.
Yeah. We don't want them to go through certain things we've gone through. But I think... they are their own souls. They picked this journey somehow, and they need to develop it and they need to figure it out. And you're here to support them. You're their anchor. You're their lighthouse. I've seen, you know, the comparisons. Teenage moms, we're the foundation, right? My son still wants to come home every weekend, and I'm like, don't you want to stay over there and like make friends, you know? But I'm his foundation. They've already lost their dad. Yeah. So I let them.
There's stability.
So it's nice because a lot of times people complain their teenagers.
Yeah, they don't come around, but then
no,
you're like, how do I get rid of him?
It's like, I love you. I love you. I love you. And I love that. I love that. And in the same breath, he's like, Mom, I need to become more independent. Yes, you do. And you will, you know? And so it doesn't need to be an all or nothing thing.
Yeah.
It could just be an awareness that you want to do more things on your own. I have to let go. I had to, you know, not bring my fears. I promised myself years ago that I would not parent out of fear. And that's hard. But God. And then when my husband passed, I have to teach these kids how to drive.
Everything is a fear. Be careful. Be careful. And it's like you go through your entire life like fearful of like nothing, all because, you know, your mom was constantly in your ear telling you, be careful, be careful, be careful. Like something bad is always about to happen, especially as a Latina mom. They always have like that antenna of like, they want to, like before you fall, they want to make sure that you don't fall. Even like it's okay to just like let them fall.
You have to fall.
It's okay.
You know? I mean, just don't fall so hard that you're, you know, damaged. Like it's a permanent thing. But exactly. And I found myself having to teach them how to drive or him how to drive. And I'm like, I wasn't supposed to do this part. This is terrifying. Being in a car with this kid. Not because he's a great driver. Ask any mother. So on Saturday, he drove because I wanted to have a glass of wine. And I sat in the back. I was like, oh my God, I become my mother. I can't. And then it's like, wow, I was like, watch that car, Mom. It's like 20, 50 feet like, away, relax. You know? But apparently I'm not the only one, so I know
listen, my mother's, I had my license for like 10 years. My mother still does that. I hate getting in the car with my mom. By the way, she doesn't even have a license herself, but then she feels like she can tell me like, cuidado, be careful, this and that. And I'm like, Mommy, I've been driving for 10 years, you know? So.
And I have one who's turning 15 and he's like, when are we going to start practicing? I'm like,
oh my God.
Oh God, I just got through this.
You just went through it, right? And now you got to go through it again.
So yeah, I mean, I think back to the spirituality, I think that really believing that they are their own person, and I speak more from a heart-centered place, the soul being just having its own journey here. And that's includes our children, and that they have to make the mistakes and they have to fall and they have to, you know, and so the culture is like wants to take care of them. I was very nurtured, but was I parented a little bit out of fear? A little bit, yeah. And doing my own healing work, I realized and I learned along the way that is not what I want. As brown children, I'm already like, when you're driving, you put your hands on the wheel. You know, the Supreme Court Act just passed, and I'm like, Jesus, let me convey this without being terrified, because I'm secretly terrified.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm doing it. We're doing it. We do it, you know? And I think that, you know, the more we parent out of fear, the more fearful they become. We don't want that either.
No.
Right? Because they're going to do it anyway.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's not easy, but it's kind of, you're
premeditating like bad things to happen. And it's
right. The whole universe, putting it out into the universe.
Oh my God, I believe in that so much.
Yes.
And it's like, I wish people understood that, how real it is. And even myself, I catch myself sometimes like saying negative things, and then it happens. I'm like, of course, because I had that mindset, But then in retrospect, when I'll have that, like, switch that mindset into like positive and putting things out there in a positive mindset, even saying it out loud, even looking into the mirror and saying it, and it just like everything just shifts. So
I think the beautiful thing of spirituality is, whether it's God or the universe or just a higher self, I think that there's a surrender that can happen if you really do the work. And that's the beauty of both together, because anxiety is in the mind around how we are triggered, how we internalize things, what we've been through. But the spiritual piece of letting go of God has this, the universe has this, this is how it's meant to be. There's a freedom in that, and it's hard. So I think that's why I think it's so beautiful, because the clients that want to do both or talk about both usually get deeper. And the deeper you get, the more you access.
The more healing you have to.
And the subconscious is holding a lot. It's 90, I don't know if it's 90 or 95% of what we carry.
Really?
And so it's like, we have to get in there somehow. So we have to do a little more than just talk. So there's all these wonderful modalities now. There's even EMDR. But for me, the
what's that, EMDR?
It's really for trauma work, to kind of process the trauma.
To bring it to the surface, or just...
Yeah, and do some healing work around it, the therapy. I don't specialize in that, but I do know that it's very effective for certain parts. And here's another thing. There is no one recipe, right? Usually my clients that come to me most of the time have done things already. So they're ready for that deep place. They're ready for that deeper place. Or they see that the spiritual piece is important to them, and they see that that's how I do my work. Even physically, how are we internalizing these emotions? Are we getting stomach aches often? Are we getting headaches?
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about that, because I felt that that's something that a lot of people, they're not aware of that, of how your body is actually screaming to you and trying to like alert you of like, hey, your stomach is, feeling like a dishwasher right now, because you're trying to process something and you just aren't fully processing it still.
Right.
And there was that book that I forgot the name of it.
But I have an example.
Yeah.
It's called The Encyclopedia of Ailments. It's a very good book. You can put it on your notes.
Yes.
But I think, so because we believe in mind-body connection, as a hypnotherapist and in the community, I was taking classes with, this was a beautiful community of, this is how I got into my journey with mindfulness, meditation, hypnotherapy, and spiritual therapists in general. And so I think that learning the connection with the body, I did hypnotherapies on my migraines because I used to get a lot of them. And I was like, I don't know. I'm doing a session because we had to practice on each other a lot when we were getting trained. And I'm like, I had a friend who was a little more advanced, and she's like, I'll do one on you. So she did 2 on me. So I had to do a good 3 or 4 to really get in there. And I saw, oh my God, and I'll bring this is how astrology comes in. I would get a migraine the day after I felt so overwhelmed. So overwhelmed. So I'm getting irritable. I'm getting stressed, what we call stressed. I'm irritable. I'm annoyed. I feel like my heart is racing a little bit, maybe my stomach doesn't feel great. And I have so many things to do. We're moms, we work.
Yeah.
I have so much to do. And I was like, wait, there's a pattern here. The next day, wake up with a migraine. And I just started to see the pattern. And I stopped before I got to the overwhelm. So I started training myself to slow down. I started giving myself permission to rest, to stop. Even in the middle of a day, I'm in private practice, so I can do that. I can take a pause. I can do a meditation. I can just listen to music. Music is like my therapy.
Oh my God.
I love music.
I thought I was
the only one
that
it does something to my
no,
spirit.
yes. Is it like our like
Dance
the
and
Latina in us or what? But
I don't know, but that
there's music
it's
is
healing.
so healing and therapeutic. I always say, like, if it wasn't for music, I don't know where I would be.
I have been on this grief journey for 1.5 years, and I don't know. I've always loved music. I actually played the piano and cello for 10 years. But beyond
I've been trying
that,
to learn to play the piano for some time now.
but beyond
Super
that,
therapeutic.
I just listen to it and I love it. And my dad loved it. My brother's a musician. My mom loved it. So it's like in the family. It's in our culture. And I feel so connected to it. And I just really feel that it's so important. So I would listen to music. I would just lay down.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm like, wow, I'm so tired. But I got to push through because I have things to do, you know?
That's a curious conversation to dive deep into, by the way. Just how music plays a role with your mental health.
God, yes. It's
You
so
know?
important. And by the way, and this gets more into spirituality, but energetically speaking, music has different vibrations. And so different numbers can spark different parts of your healing. And music can have negative vibration too. So really pay attention in your body and in your spirit. How does this song make you feel? Like for some reason, like this is just a silly example, but it's real. Certain electronic music, and I used to like house back in the days, but it's not my thing, you know? But there's these certain electronic songs that I like that does something to me. Or Anita Baker.
Really?
I just get happy.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's not anything specific. It's a feeling. And I'm just trust it. You know, I just trust that I feel good after I listen to this. I feel good after I hear this type of music. And I'm like, where is this? This makes me silly. Let me pick this playlist on Spotify or whatnot. And so I think that has really helped me a lot. I've had to drive a lot in the last year by myself. So I listen on the road and I don't mind.
It's my favorite.
I don't mind.
My favorite thing to do.
Driving.
It's like the most therapeutic thing for me to just take a drive and just blast music. And it's so funny. My daughter always gets like annoyed. She's like, when you come pick me up in school, can you like lower the music? I'm like, you act like I pull up like with huge bocinas loud. Like it's not even that loud. She's like, just put it all the way low. And I'm like, okay. But it's definitely therapeutic for me. I am.
Well, and this goes back to our culture, like our ancestors, and we don't know, right? Because Christianity and other major religions came and said that wasn't okay, but the African ancestry in Puerto Rico, they brought the bomba and the plena, and the indigenous people have their own ways of just healing and doing things in circles. Because if you think about it,
they have like all these rituals with the music, and this goes back in history. Like, and why is that? And it's always been there. And now I understand. I feel like that's a part of like healing. It's a part of culture. It's a part of spirituality even. You know?
It is. And that's why in the retreats that I facilitate, I had this feeling of I want to get a conguera. And I'm like, well, there's a retreat for women of color. Yeah. I want music. We need to have music.
Of course.
We need to have Spanish food. We need to make it for us. It's for us. And it was like the drumming is for just the Black ancestry, the African ancestry, the plena in Puerto Rico. You know, we heal through music. We love through music. We have joy through music.
We love through
music. Party with music, obviously.
Yes.
We have it on all the time.
Yes.
You know? So it's my husband was Dominican. He would always like, where's the music? Why aren't you putting it on? And I'm like, chill.
Tell us a little bit about the retreat, because I know that it's part of, you know, which...
Yeah, it's become like a passion of ours. I co-facilitated with Aida Hernandez, who's also, she's a wonderful psychodramatist, which is basically storytelling through acting. It's beautiful.
That.
And I do astrology, and I do astrology in a relational way. So I am interested in helping you understand yourself better. So that's how it comes into my sessions, if the person's into it, only if they want it. I will be providing coaching, relational astrology coaching packages, because you can understand your child better based on certain placements, like their moon sign. You can understand your partner better based on Mercury, let's say, for instance, or Venus, because those are planets of communication. Those are planets of love. And so there's all these things that I've been trained to understand, and I find it so effective. And it's a way of it's like radical self-acceptance, because so in the retreat, we will have some some psychodrama with astrology, which is really fun and interactive. So it's very interactive. And then we will also have an inner child meditation, a grounding meditation. We have we've had sound bath. We this is our third one, so we switch it up. We have a sound bath because our conguera also does sound healing. So she's wonderful, Carmen. And then at the end, or towards the end, we do music. So she'll play the congas, and then we'll have all the instruments. So we'll have more drumming. We have the güiro. We have the pandereta. We have a bunch of things, right? Yeah. And it's really our way of connecting to our roots. And we don't know. We don't know what we don't know, right? But we do know that this is healing. We do know that music, dance, movement is all part of the journey and very specific to our cultures as women of color. So it's just a variety of things. And in the morning, we'll do some exercises to connect with each other, you know.
So it's like a 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. thing.
Mm-hmm. 10 to 5.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a lot of interaction, but like you're going to get whoever comes usually we're not going to say this is going to happen. You're going to get what you're meant to get.
It's what you allow,
what
right?
What you put in. You know, like sometimes it's timing. Some people couldn't go to the first one and now they came to the second one and they were ready for the second one, or some people couldn't come to the first two and now are coming to the third one. So it's like really a matter of. And then I was talking to an old friend and she's like, I'm signing up right now. I need this so badly. It was like an instinct. And so let me reach out to her.
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't know what I've been going through. I need this. I need this. So I think it's just really whoever's meant to be there is meant to be there. And we really, in the country that we're living in the times that we're living in, we just really, this is our way of providing a safe space, hopefully, for us. When we were targeted, when all these things, we've been through so much.
We're overwhelmed because, you know.
We're overwhelmed. Women of color are targeted right now. And so there's a lot going on. So this is our way of just really giving back. And we're very passionate about it. You know, we get to do the things that we love to do, you know, work-wise, but also creatively. We love to create, you know, and do different types of exercises every time. We change it up every time, but we have like a pretty similar outline, but we change it up. So it's a really needed thing. Eventually we want to go to weekends and maybe Puerto Rico.
I was just thinking that it would be beautiful to do those retreats, like, you know, in Puerto Rico and any one of those Caribbean islands, you know, and just even on the beach.
Yeah,
that would be amazing. Yeah, you know, to like a fireplace. So
we'll get there.
Yeah, of course. But thank you so much for bringing your knowledge to Love, Heal, Hustle. Truly appreciate it. And you want to tell, you know, my audience where they can reach you, where they can find you, even if they want to reach out for your services?
Holistic_terapista is my Instagram because we have a lot of information on the retreat there. My website is www.melissabadadevers.com. And that's under construction, but you can still find me through the website. Cool. So that and Instagram.
And then the retreat is, you have one coming up, right?
Yes. The next retreat is October 18th. It's for one day. And we have in our Instagram, we have the flyer. And we also have a video of both prior retreats so that you can have an idea. Because I know sometimes it's hard to understand what it's about.
You can visualize it. Yeah.
So you can visualize it and have an idea of what it would entail.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're not just surviving, you're rewriting the rules. If this spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Keep loving, keep healing, and don't you ever stop hustling. This is Love, Heal, Hustle, and your story's just getting started. Tap follow, hit subscribe, and listen on every major platform.